Muito boa tarde a todos. Isto é uma oportunidade que o Tomás nos está a dar de podermos trazer alguns pensamentos do Oriente que pensamos que sejam úteis nas nossas vidas diárias de uma forma muito simples, abordarmos toda esta cultura do budismo sem nenhuma pretensão nem nenhuma ligação a algo religioso, mas sim com praticidade do nosso dia-a-dia, questionando a mente, trabalhando alguns caminhos que a mente poderá explorar, e então, para que isto aconteça, alguém melhor do que alguém que já estuda desde sempre, desde pequenino entrou no mosteiro, Geshe Tanzing, e estuda desde os 5, 6 anos, o budismo. Neste momento tem 39, é Geshe. Geshe é uma expressão ou uma qualidade que se dá a alguém que estudou durante muitos anos o budismo e tem as capacidades de abraçar de uma forma transversal toda esta filosofia e ensinar. Portanto, nós, Namaskar, funciona como uma ponte para este conhecimento para o Ocidente, e queremos trazer com leveza e praticidade em que as palavras se transformem depois em atitudes no nosso dia-a-dia, em que possamos usar de forma agradável em todas as nossas atividades do dia, nos pensamentos, nas ações. Possivelmente nada de novo, possivelmente todas as pessoas vão se identificar com estes princípios, mas muitas vezes nós não conseguimos ir tão fundo ou não conseguimos explorar a forma de abraçar na praticidade tudo isto. Portanto, o Geshe Tanzing vai trazer de uma forma suave um pouco destas ideias e vamos questioná-lo, não é? Porque um dos princípios mais extraordinários é nos podermos questionar, não é? E comparar e experimentar. Portanto, sejam bem-vindos, obrigada. Penso que iniciar, ele já deve estar aí a chegar.
Obrigado nós pelo desafio, não sei
Sim.
se ainda não chegou.
Espero que seja o primeiro de muitas outras situações possam surgir.
Sim, claro que sim. Deixa-me só
Podem depois...
perguntar aos participantes, há alguém que não compreenda inglês? Nós vamos falar inglês, quem é que não percebe inglês? Ou não percebe absolutamente nada? Quem perceber só um bocadinho, se calhar apanha.
Eu não domino muito o inglês, mas percebo alguma coisa.
Mas conversação básica...
compreendo, falar é que é mais difícil, porque vem-me à cabeça logo tudo em francês.
Pois não, aí já não consigo fazer a mudança. Mas, Lourdes, fazemos uma coisa. A Lourdes, se tiver alguma questão, ou alguém... pelo que eu percebi, as pessoas vão conseguir seguir a conversa, o que é bom, não temos de estar a fazer a paragem para traduzir, mas qualquer questão, liguem o microfone e peçam, e nós traduzimos no momento, ou tentamos modificar com o Tanzing, ok? Deixa só ver que ele está a demorar, da Índia até aqui ainda demora um bocadinho. E como disse a Márcia, pronto, vamos ouvir o Tanzing, a sua explicação. Tem algumas questões muito básicas. Eu estudei muito pouco de budismo, vou-lhe fazer algumas questões muito básicas, e se calhar para alguns de vocês que já estão interessados no budismo há algum tempo serão básicas demais, para outros talvez não, e é pensar neles que eu vou fazer essas questões. E depois interessa-me aprofundar um bocadinho algumas possíveis ligações entre a filosofia ocidental e o budismo. E claro que depois abrimos o microfone e abrimos o diálogo como vocês já estão habituados. Ok?
Excelente.
Podemos fazer as questões que quiserem.
Deixa-me ver, se calhar está com algum problema.
Só por curiosidade, já há aqui alguém interessado no budismo, que tenha estudado o budismo? A Maria de Lourdes tem um livro do Dalai Lama. Qual é o livro?
Portanto, é Samsara, a vida, a morte, o renascimento. O livro do Dalai Lama. E comprei isto já há muito tempo para tentar perceber um bocadinho as diferenças fundamentais, portanto, entre o cristianismo e o budismo.
Comprou e leu.
Diga?
Comprou e leu.
Comprei a quem?
Comprou e leu.
Comprei e li. Sim.
Pronto. Se o Tanzing,
já comprei há muito tempo e li.
Pronto, se o Tanzing não chegar, a Maria de Lourdes faz as vezes do...
É um bom livro. É um bom livro para começar.
Já está a entrar.
Já está?
Já está, já está.
Excelente.
Com sorte, Maria de Lourdes, íamos fazer aí uma revisão, uma revisão ao conteúdo do livro. Tanzing? Do you hear me?
Pois ele está, mas não está com som nem com imagem. Tenho que lhe escrever.
É. Imagem não, som também não.
Do you hear me?
Ok.
Yes, Tanzing. Yes, we hear you. How are you?
Do you hear me?
Yes, very well.
I'm good. I'm good.
We cannot
Yeah.
Can you turn on the camera? Now we don't hear you. You have to activate the microphone. Yes. Dancing. Dancing, we cannot hear you.
Eu já escrevi. Deixa eu ver.
Tem que ativar o microfone.
Ok, ele está, mas
You hear
não
me?
tem noção.
Okay.
Yes, hello, Tanzing.
Ok.
We hear you and we can see you now.
Okay.
You are already very famous. Marcia introduced you.
Good afternoon to you all.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What time is there in India right now?
Nice to see you all. Yeah. Okay.
What time you have in India right now?
Right now, here in India, around 9 p.m.
Okay, the connection is not very good. Let's hope that it goes faster. Tanzing, you can hear me well, okay?
Yeah, I hear you very well. I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Most of the people here can speak and understand English, so we won't have to translate. Unless someone asks, we stop and try to translate, okay?
Okay.
Okay, now it's better. Good.
I think it's
Tanzing,
better.
thank you very much for accepting our invitation for this dialogue.
Yeah. Thank you.
About Buddhism and philosophy.
I'm very glad to talk with the people who are interested, particularly the topic that we have talked before. Yeah.
Yes. These people are interested in everything. They come to Dialogue Academy for every team, so they are curious about everything. That's a nice principle. I think it will be a very nice talk. Look, Tanzing, I don't know a lot about Buddhism. I read some things, so I'll begin by some very basic questions, and I believe some of the people here also don't have a lot of knowledge about Buddhism. Some might have, so I'll have some basic questions for you, and then let's see where the dialogue goes, and then I guess people will some of the people will have some questions for you. Okay. So about you, Marcy already told us that you study Buddhism since you were a child. Yes, since 4-year-old or 5. You entered the school, the monastery. What's your experience in Buddhism? How did you start?
Okay, let me tell you something about I was born in North India, the Himachal Pradesh. It's North India is a very big country. I was born in North India, very cold place. And at the age of around 9 and 10, and I went to South India. My uncle that brought me to South India to study Buddhist philosophy at the Tibetan community. Tibetan community over there in South India. South India, they have the very big monastery over there, which is almost like 3,000, 4,000 monks studying in this particular monastery. And when I was in South India for the first time, I don't know any Tibetan language. I don't know also, Tibetan literature. And also I study over there the Tibetan language, that time I was small, right? And I study over there almost like for the beginner to study Tibetan language, Tibetan alphabetical, and also I'm talking with the Tibetan people through that. And also we need to memorize a lot, a textbook, memorize, and without knowing its meanings, we need to memorize for the first time. Then after, with that also, I got a chance to study in the modern language like English also, Hindi, I already know, the Indian language that I already know before. And English language, I also study in the monastery school. Then later, with that, also got a chance to study in all the Buddhist, the topics on the subject, like a sutra and tantra level that we study over there. Almost like it takes almost like 19, 20 years to complete the whole Buddhist philosophy courses. Yeah, that's why, I study over there. And I, before we don't know much more about the Buddhism, through the learning and also practice. The practice means, what the text says, and I found it's very, Buddhism mainly talks about, to control the main aim and objective is to gain happiness, not only for the happiness, but also the main, to liberate for the sake of all sentient beings. We talk about bodhicitta, about these things, and the ultimate nirvanas. In this Buddhism, they have different levels to talk. Actually, we can't find this particular textbooks to study this and this. Now, for example, I travel a lot in America, in the almost like many states in the United States, and also I went to Mexico. I found many people, those who are interesting, they're showing their interest on the Buddhisms. They particularly interest in Buddhisms, and because of they have a personal their problems. They don't know how to solve the problems from the Buddhist perspective. Some of these perspective that help them. So that's why they're showing concern to learn the Buddhisms on that basis. And I found, sometimes it's very important to know them. Many people, they are facing problems, these kind of things. So that's why I think, yes.
In our preparatory talk about 2 weeks ago, you told me about the book Beyond Religion.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the title. So when we think about Buddhism, think about the religion, but you say that Buddhism goes beyond, para além da beyond religion. So Buddhism is not a religion. Is that so? Is that the conclusion of this idea?
Yeah, let me talk. Buddhism can be classified into 3 categories: Buddhist religions, Buddhist philosophies, and Buddhist science. The Buddhist religions, the first one, Buddhist religions, the Buddhist religion, when you enter in the monastery, and when you come to India, you see so many Buddhist monasteries in India and Tibet and Nepal, Bhutan. When you come to India, there's so many Buddhist monasteries over there. And when the monks, they do Buddhist monastery can, sometimes they conjunction with, they connect with the ritual, tantra ritual, these kind of things, which can also be considered as the Buddhist rituals. But the ritual, they mainly based on the philosophy. In the philosophical text, they also, when you do this. But in the philosophical text, there's different level of philosophy. In the Buddha has, Buddha see that different mental capabilities. So, you know, Buddhists talk different levels. So that's why, you know, they say. Now, you know, if we go to the topics, you know, beyond religion, let me clarify with the beyond religions. Now, I think, you know, the last year in Delhi, New Delhi, and so many universities, some of the university, the director, they also came here in the Indias, particularly, you know, the meeting with the different philosopher, you know, their main goal, their main perspective is to give the education to the young generations, to give, you know, all the schools and college in the world, particularly the topics, you know, the topics to gain happiness and pain, you know, not that happiness and pain, that doesn't take the concept taken from the religious perspectives. The beyond religion, that particular His Holiness Dalai Lama, the books that he's written, beyond religion, it mainly talk about the inner values and personal integrities, inner value and personal integrities, how to gain happiness, you know, without, there are so many people in the world. Some people, they accept the religion, some people they don't accept the religion, some people they never believe the religion, you know. Even in the religion also itself, you know, some people they follow the, you know, creation of God, and some people, you know, like Buddhism and Jain, you know, they doesn't follow the creation of God. The Buddhism and Jain, others, you know, they just thought, you know, everything is laws, cause and conditions, you know, laws of causalities. But, you know, there's different faith in the world. The main, you know, we all want happiness, we all want peace, we all want, you know, the pleasance, you know, without taking the concept of religion's perspectives. On this, particularly the Dalai Lama's, you know, the books, the religions, beyond religion, this has lots of informations, you know, that we need to understand. He gave, you know, because he has traveled around the world and he have experience, he has made different people to see, you know, how they, so even in his books, you know, he's mentioned, you know, sometime I need to give answer, you know, because the situation has changed. And also I found also confused, you know, how to give the response because the situation of change, that also happened. That's why, you know, we need to learn about His Holiness is telling about the secular ethics. But in secular ethics, sometimes secular ethics in the Western people, they thought secular it is totally against the religion. It's not like that in India. In India, Indian constitution itself, it was a secular India. That means, you know, in India, who was and the people who live in India, they can respect all this, whatever they want to believe, any kind of religion they can, but, you know, they also respect other religion as well, you know. That's why in one of these books, you know, the people, you know, they're giving the misinformation of India to the West. This is totally wrong. This, even in the big country like India or China or America or some country, you know, some people, you know, some bad people is also there, you know, not only in the one side India, you know, every country they have, but they're giving some misinformations like this.
Tanzing,
Yes.
let's try to get a connection with Western philosophy here. If some of the people here wanted to study philosophy, Western philosophy, they would go to some textbooks, they would go to some authors, Aristotle, Plato, Kant, for example. If someone wants to study Buddhism and to know about Buddhism, where do they go? They go to sacred texts, they go to some authors, they try to meditate. How do you study or how do you practice Buddhism?
Yeah, now I would suggest you the Buddhism, you know, if we talk, you know, it's Buddhism, you know, if we go in deeper way, Buddhism is very vast and very profound, you know. Now, you know, when you go to the Tibetan temple, you know, maybe you might have people, they might have noticed in the Tibetan temple, there are so many Buddhist texts, you know, which they put in the altar, you know, almost like, you know, 300 volumes Now let me tell you, Kanjur and Tenjur, there's two sets, there's two separate. Kajurs. Kajur means, ka means exactly word of the Buddhas. Jur means translations. In ancient time, before the Nalanda University, the destructions, in I think Nalanda University, which is destructed in 11th century, Nalanda University. There's two big university, one in Nalanda and another one is Takshila. That was Takshila University now in the Pakistan. Before India and Pakistan in one country. Now in 1947, the British, they separated in the two countries. Takshila University and Nalanda University. There's two big university, and there are so many the texts, which is all mostly in Sanskrit language or Pali language. And before that, now it also related with the Tibetan, now the Buddhism mostly can be seen in the Tibetan language. In the 7th century, Acharya Shanti Rakshita and some other, they were Acharya Shanti Rakshita, one of the great Nalanda University the philosopher, and Tibetan king Sonzen Gampo and others, they invited the Acharya Shanti Rakshita to Tibet to give the teachings. And Acharya Shanti Rakshita went to Tibet to give the teaching of the Nalanda the traditions. Now Kanjur and Tenjur, Kajurs, in the Tibet, they started to translate all this, the Buddhist doctrine, what exact the Buddha has said, they translated almost like 101 volumes, translated into Tibetan language. Now, when they study in the Buddhism in the monastery in Tibetan, they found on the first topic, Jagarketus. Jagarketu means according to the Sanskrit language. And Pragya Parmi, the Shastra Sutra. This is first letter comes in the Sanskrit origin language. Then later, next, it started with the Tibetan language and like this. And another, Indian commentary, there's what the Buddha has taught, 101 volumes. And there are so many Nalanda University scholars like Acharya Shanti Rakshita, Vasubandhu, Chandrakirti, Acharya. There are so many Nalanda scholars. They also wrote so many commentary based on the Buddha's own teachings, commentaries. Now, later, the Tibetan, maybe you have some Tibetan, the philosopher like J. Rinpoche, Khitu Rinpoche, they also wrote many commentary what this Nalanda scholar wrote. Now, now if we study, in more than, there are so many commentaries, so many texts, it is totally, incomplete. We don't have a time for this. Now, now in this particular text, particularly now, the people, Lo Jones, sometimes I just thought, many Lo Jong means transforming the mind. To transform the mind into the positive, transform the mind in the better way. Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, there are so many texts, such as, a guide to the Bodhisattva way of life, a guide to the Bodhisattva way of life is one of the texts which is written by Acharya Shanti Dev in the Nalanda universities. He wrote the Shanti Dev how to remove the anger. Anger is our biggest enemies, because when we get angry and we lose all the way, thoughts, anger. And in this text, how to remain peace, how to, we gain overcomes or anger, so method has mentioned in the text. And this is sometimes, and also patience, and also there's also sometimes, last time I prepared myself, because, one of my friends, they called me to come to the Australia. And, during that time, I just prepared for 2 or 3 chapters in this Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life. Actually, there's 10 chapters. and 10th chapter in this one of the chapter 6, the passion, chapter 7, the samadhi. Samadhi means, you know, the like concentrations, and also, you know, the how to remove the anger. This kind of subject I just read, you know, because there's very big commentary, which is commentary written by His Holiness Dalai Lama, and I read and read, you know, I prepare for to go over them to, you know, to just keep, and so, and I thought, you know, these kind of texts, these kind of texts is very important in this, in our humanity, right? In our people, you know, those who are very good. And sometimes, you know, when you control the anger, you know, you remain very peace, you know. Even in the text, you know, that according to the scientists, you know, we are talking about immune system, right? When you get angry, we are losing our immune system. It is also bad for our health, right? And it also brings unpleasant. It also brings, you know, the sad. It also brings so many distress. These kind of things, you know. This, according to the scientific, this also is very important. That's why, you know, now, you know, in the when we go to in the Western country, you know, many scientists, they are collaborating to the Buddhism. You know, Buddhism is, even the Buddha has said, you know, Buddha said, you know, some people they might go, oh, they are propagating, you know, they are all, you know, separating the Buddhism. It's not like that, you know. Even one time, I also feel my own experience. One of the meetings last few years ago in Delhi, Indian scientist, he's very famous scientist, particularly in the atomics. He's Muslim himself. He's a Muslim guy. Abdul Kalam. He's a Muslim guy. He's very great scientist. And in the meeting, His Holiness Dalai Lama also there, and I got a chance to go over there. And the meetings, His Holiness, the scientist Abdul Kalam said, you know, he never thought that, you know, one time he got the book on the, you know, one of the texts in the Mool Madhyamaka Karikas, you know, the text composed on written by Acharya Nag Arjun in the 2nd century Nalanda scholar. He wrote in the text, it's talked about quantum, it talks about, you know, the quantum physics, you know, and he was confused. Oh my God, this Nalanda scholar, you know, they wrote about the quantum physics, you know, they also, you know, very logically, it was amazing. And he knows, he also said,
let me just interrupt you for a second, because as you know, I know you are a teacher of little kids.
No,
yes?
I'm not a teacher.
You teach. I know. You are a teacher, yes?
I'm teaching in the school, you know, the beyond religion, and also, you know, this particularly small children, you know, how to, you know, now, you know, I'm thinking, you know, now I'm thinking, you know, in our monastery school, you know, they're paying mostly on the Buddhist ritual. Sometimes I just thought, you know, because I also come from this kind of tradition, and I travel a lot, and I found, you know, this merely reciting or these kind of things is not enough. So that's why I'm trying to help them to learn, know.
That's what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to ask you. That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. I'm also a teacher, a philosophy teacher of little kids. So we teach the same kids different things, I guess. So my question is, when you teach Buddhism to little kids, you try them to understand the holy texts, the sacred texts. You try them to understand what is the Buddhist tradition, or you also try for them to think critically about that, because philosophy is all about thinking critically about some problem. People are making philosophy by start always, okay? So that's how our tradition evolved, criticizing others, also building on others, but also trying to destroy what other people said. So Aristotle went against Plato, Descartes and Leibniz went against each other, for example. So Buddhism, for what I hear, doesn't evolve that way. You have like a core of doctrines, of ideas, and they go by generation to generation. So what's the place for critical thinking in Buddhism? Is there a place for critical thinking in Buddhism?
Yeah, critical thinking, you know, for example, as I mentioned before, you know, now let me tell you, you know, in the critical thinking, you know, this is a kind of analysis, you know. So when the small, you know, when we study in the monasteries, in particularly academic monastic study, their critical thinking, you know, they are talking, their teachings, like I collected topics and mind and mental factors, you know, and also, you know, they, you know, that they also talk about the reasonings. They also talk about how to use the reasonings, you know. That's why, you know, I found I met some, you know, some Westerns in American Sons. They said, you know, and now some Western people, you know, they in the monastery, you know, they, sometimes they used to come, you know, mind and life, their meetings, mind and life conference. They come in India, for example, you know, Richard Davidson's in the and others, you know, the prominent scholar. They used to come in. They also dialogue with the discussion between the science and the Buddhist philosopher. They talk about this, and they grasp the different topics to discuss. So, you know, they said, you know, the Buddhist way of analysis is different, you know, without using the mathematics. They are shocking, you know, because they got the idea from this Buddhist dialectics, you know, Buddhist dialectic debating, you know. They're in the monastery, you may have noticed, you know, they're debating, you know, they clap the hands, they're using, you know, they said, for example, you know, let me, this is one of the, you know, syllogism I'm thinking. For example, if there is a fire, there, for example, there is a fire, there is a fire, how can you fire? And they said, because there is smoke. If there is no smoke and there won't be fire, so they're using the logics, you know. Once they have a fire, you know, this kind of logic they're using. And on this logic, you know, it also mentioned in the Buddhist scripture like a Pramana is one of the texts which is composed by Acharya Dharmakirtis. In this Nalanda scholar, they compose on that basis. His Holiness Dalai Lama always saying to the world, you know, now, you know, His Holiness Dalai Lama himself said, no, we Tibetans become very famous because of not the, you know, wealthies, because we preserve the very ancient Indian knowledge. The ancient Indian, even in the Indian people, they can't keep it sacredly. That's, and the ancient Indian knowledge, we preserve it. That's why His Holiness Dalai Lama, we are reliable of Indian, you know, we preserve it. That's His Holiness proudly saying, because it's ancient Indian knowledge now is all like, you know, like destroy, you know, now not more left, you know. Maybe you may notice in India, mostly Hindu, you know, but you know, this religion, the Buddhism origin from India, and the Nalanda University in the 11th century is destroyed by these Muslims. But you know, because of 7th century, in 7th century, Tibetan translator, the Indian scholar, they translated all these Nalanda texts into Tibetan language. They preserve it. Now this is working, you know, this is helping to the millions of peoples. From this philosophy, they gain lots of experience. Some of, you know, this, if we study, you know, this philosophy, you know, they also gain enlightenment, you know. The enlightenment because of the practice, you know. For example, in this, they like now enlightenment is very far, you know. We you know, even, you know, I also feel, you know, when I was studying in the monastery, you know, when I studying in the monastery, you know, I saw, what is the main and end and object? They're asking, you know, oh, the final end and object is to enlightenment and free from this cyclic world. Oh my, this is very far, you know. How can we know that, right? But the time being,
by enlightening, what's the meaning of enlightening in Buddhist tradition?
Okay. Yeah, no, this is a good question. Enlightenment, because we human beings, according to the Buddhists, according to this, we human beings, we are cyclic existence. We are cyclic existence. We come in this world, and we did, and after that we die, and we born again. This is cycle. It's samsara. It's in Sanskrit language we call samsara. Samsara means by and death. Now this we human being, we got the human being. According to the Buddhist text, our human being is a very precious human life. Precious, considered as a very precious, because in the Buddhist text, in the text, they said we see so many creatures like dog, animal. There are so many creatures, right? We see they all have a mind. But they don't have a mind like we have, like analytical mind. They don't have it, because the all sentient being, all animal, they are same thought, the similar thought. Similar thought is one happiness to one happiness, and doesn't want pain and sufferings. Even the small insect, they also want happiness. They doesn't want pain. If we animals, if we don't harm them, they never harm us. If we try to attack, they're afraid and they will attack us. This is a symbol. We human being, we know what will happen. So that's why we called precious human lives. So that's why, according to Buddhists, it's mentioned, in the Buddhist human life, we are more better than the God. In the Buddhist text, in the Buddhist text, even the God they have a limitation, like a 500 year, like a 1,000 year. They have a limit. Once their limit's over, they don't know where to go. But we human beings, if we did something very good, we can be more better than them. So that's why our consciousness, our body, like body, it's like a cloth. This change, this year we born as some people, we born as some man, other as a female. Next time we born as other sentient being. Next time it's like a kind of cloth, changing. Enlightenment means, once we enlighten from the cyclic world, and we never born in this cyclic world, we are in the more pleasant ways. That's enlightenment. To enlightenment, we need to study. We need to study. According to there's a different stage, path of preparation, path of the solam, jolam, tholam. There are different paths. We need to go. So that's why we enlightenment. This is enlightenment state. And once you enlighten, you will never be born in this cyclic existence.
But Tanzing, I think that maybe that's my ignorance talking, but I think being in that cycle, by chance, if that is true, and being that cycle, I think it's a good thing, because when you go out of that cycle, where are you going? You disappear, no?
Uh-huh.
Why do you want to leave the cycle? It's a way of being alive. No, even if you come like a worm or a tree or a female or a man, but you are in that cycle, you are alive. When you go out of the cycle, what happens to you?
I see. This is also a good question.
Maybe it's not a good thing to be enlightened.
Yeah. Let me tell you. This now we are enlightened state and samsaric state. Samsaric. Now there's also saying, like bodhisattva. The autistic in the Buddhist text. For example, sometimes even His Holiness Dalai Lama, sometimes there's a prayer which prayer mentioned that as long, this is prayer of Acharya Shantidev, as long as space remain, as long as sentient being remain, until then may I too remain, to dispel the darkness to dispel the ignorance, to dispel the darkness of the world. This mentioned, there's now in the cyclic existence, there are so many people, because even, even to be born in the human level also, there are so many disparities, some people become very, very nice. Some people, they remain in a very poor state, because, they also, something, they past did. If you done something very wrong in the past, the result comes. If you did something very good in the past, result comes. They're saying, there is saying, Ngama kanje tade lula tes, chima kanje tade similar tes. This is, I will translate. Ngama kanje tade lula tes. That means, whatever you have done in the past, you see the result in this life. What ngama kanje tade lula tes. This one. Chima kanje tade similar tes. Whatever you want to do in the future, now you need to do your mind. Now you need to think your mind. Whatever you want to do in the future, you need to do. You need to think in your mind. That is very important, So, if you did something very good, and there's a guarantee, there's 100% guarantee, something good result will come. If you did something wrong in the past, the wrong result will come. Some people they kill animal. They say, oh, this is. Some people, this is, we human beings, we just use the logic. We also want happiness. They also want happiness. They never think. For example, if someone is beating too hard, beating to them, they're suffering, right? So then you just think themselves as the one's bodies, how we feel. They also have the same feeling. They also have the same. These kind of things we need to apply in our daily life. And that's, if you always helping others, that makes you very happy, So you feel, oh, I did something very good, If you do all the time by think oneself, I want this, there's no limitation of desire, It doesn't bring happiness. Like this.
Okay. Tanzing, like me, I'm sure people are willing to make you a couple of questions. Let me just make you a last question. I know you studied the Western philosophy also. For you,
no, listen.
Yeah.
I never study. I know the Western some philosopher. I'm still trying to learn. Western philosophy. I really want to study in the Western philosophy. So that's why if I know some Western philosophy quite well, so it would be very good to make a bridge from this point and that point, right? So that's why sometimes I don't understand.
That was the idea of this dialogue, is to try to understand, not build that bridge, but to try to understand how would that bridge be possible. But for your readings, for the philosophy you already read and know, what's the main difference between a Buddhism approach to life, to knowledge, to truth, and Western philosophical approach to life, knowledge, and truth, or well-being and happiness? Do you see a difference between those approaches?
I never study about the Western philosophy, truly speaking. I never study. I want to study, but I think mostly concept. I think mostly quite similar in the logic. Even Karl Marx. Is a Western philosopher, right? The Karl Marx, and I don't remember before. I have one book, but this book doesn't give the full information, and now I would just suggest you. I have a book, this book. You see, Robert Wright, The Why the Buddhism is True. Robert Wright. Robert, if you have a time, you just read this book. This is very good books. And this man, he's from America. He's a psychologist. He's a psychologist, and he went to he went to meditate somewhere in the samadhi, or like a samadhi retreat like that. And after that, when he got lots of interesting questions. He studied about Buddhism, and Buddhism, mostly it's used the logic, Buddhism, even the Buddha said, let me tell you one thing. One of the sutras, Balamati Sati Sutras, I don't remember the text name exactly. Buddha said, you don't accept whatever I said. Buddha said, you don't follow whatever I said, you just use your own mind, you just use your own way of thinking. Likewise, goldsmith, rubbing, smashing, melting, heating, likewise, you use your mind. If I said something true, then you can accept it. If you don't like what I said, you just leave it. You don't need to follow whatever I said, you don't need to respect whatever I said, just use your mind. Even the Buddha said from the beginnings. Yes, this is Buddha exactly. That's why, one of my friends, he's Michael something, many years ago, we went to Spiti together. We met in Manali, and he have a book. The books that have one in German language, other in English language. And he said, oh my God, this stanza is very powerful. He followed this Krishan. Yeah, this is totally opposite. He was confused. He said, and is it true? He asked me, and I said, that's true. This is mentioned. This in the Tibetan language, Gelon Dagam Kenam Ki, Sector Darbe Sersin Tu, Lepertala Ngai Ka, Lamrajai, which means. This is the Tibetan word. That's I translated to you. Buddha said, and also Buddha said, Purnam Dikpa Chui Mitusing, Dre Dunga Chaki Misela, Niki Tokpa Shinla Pominite, Chunye Demba Tembe Dover Gurus. That's it. Buddha and other, they never wash your sins. Buddha and other, they never wash your sins. You need to clear what you have did wrong by yourself. There's no other people to your wrong side. This is impossible. But I show you the very right path to go to make purify what you need to do. And that is what I said, what I preach. You need to follow the direction that I show. But if you don't like, you just forget. That's Buddha said.
I think that
Buddha
we have
never in this,
we have a bridge there between Buddhism and philosophy, because there's a very famous philosopher, Immanuel Kant, who said something quite similar to what Buddha said. He said, dare to use your own thinking, dare to use your own imagination. It's the motto of the Enlightenment. Dare to think for yourself. If you don't think for yourself, the old knowledge you have will not be worth it. So I think there's a common theme there between Buddhism and philosophy. I don't know if you would still be a Buddhist if you throw out everything Buddha taught, but you could be a philosophy if you throw out everything Kant taught. You can say, I don't agree with anything Kant said and still be a philosopher, but you cannot say, I don't agree with anything Buddha said and still be a Buddhist. I think there's a difference there between Buddhism and philosophy.
Yeah,
I guess. Do you agree with me? We cannot say Buddha is wrong in everything and still be a Buddhist.
Yeah, even now, I will tell you one example. Sometimes His Holiness Dalai Lama is talking. Now His Holiness sometimes saying, particularly, the transformation of mind. The transformation mind. His Holiness Dalai Lama often saying, you don't need to do a Buddhas. You don't need to do as a Buddhist. But there are so many things that we can learn from this text in ancient Indian Nalanda scholar text that he says. That's why you can learn something from this, and this the philosophy or something. If something we need, we can tag it. Some people they come, oh, this is Buddhist text, I don't agree that. It's a stupid thing, But if some people who was very rational, I like the Christianity. Why? Because, you know, they are helping to the people. This is very nice. You know, I like it. But, you know, they're helping other people, what we need. But, you know, I met, you know, some missionary people, you know, I met one time. I'm quite stubborn, right? I like the Christianity, what they're doing, but, you know, many years ago, I met one Christian people here in Dharamshala, where I was, and we become friends. And he said, Tanzing, how are you? And I said, let's go have some pizza. And we went to pizza together. Then after that, he took me to his room, and I went to his room. And he later I noticed, you know, before a few days ago, I met one a guy from England. He said he came from Tibet and he came to India. Now he said India is totally free, you know. When he was in Tibet, you know, there's no freedoms, you know. Wherever he go, he saw the army, you know, with the rifle everywhere. But here is totally peace, shanti. He said, and we become friends. And he told me, you know, even here in Dharamshala, he said there's some Christian missionary also there, missionary, and they are trying to, you know, to convert you as a Christian. He said, and I told him, yeah, I know these kind of people, you know, I met some people in South India also. And, you know, in the Dharamshala, after a few days later, I met one Christian missionary, and we had a pizza together. Later, we went to his room, and he said, oh, do you like reading? He said, yes, I like readings, you know. What kind of I like readings, you know, like Shakespeare and William Wordsworth, you know. I said, and he said, no, you just read these books. And he gave me the Christian books, you know, with the translation of Tibetan. And I said, I thought, oh my God, these people, you know, trying to convert me. Yeah. I said, this is very interesting. But, you know, I told him I like English reading because I want to improve my English, to read English, you know. Tibetan, I know how to read, you know, you don't need to teach me Tibetan. I like reading English. These things I have people, you know, I have experience. But, you know, the main thing, you know, whatever we want from the kind of knowledge we can take. And we also respect other tradition, you know. These kind of things I know very well. Yeah.
Okay, Tanzing, let's see if someone wants to ask you a question. Quem quiser é só abrir o microfone e depois ou fala em inglês ou eu posso ajudar a traduzir, estejam à vontade. Já agora este livro que ele recomendou, não tínhamos combinado, foi coincidência. Não está em português. Um livro do Robert Wright, que é A Evolução de Deus, está em português, eu também recomendo, mas este não está em português. Mas é um excelente livro. Porque é que o budismo é verdadeiro? Eu usei para preparar para esta sessão aqui.
So, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Tanzing.
Yeah.
I'm Maria de Lourdes, it's my name.
Okay.
And I would like to ask you, Dalai Lama, in this book, he talks often of compassion.
Yeah, compassion.
And compassion is also something the Christianism talks, but it's a difference. I would like to know what do you understand of compassion?
Okay, this is very good. You know, let me tell you the compassion. In the scripture also, you know, the compassion is the seed of everything. You know, the compassion. If we clarify the compassion, we should have a compassion toward all sentient beings without any discriminations. Without any discrimination. These kind of compassion we need, you know. If you have a compassion towards some people, this is not a compassion. This is like attachment. It's kind of attachment with someone. If you have the genuine compassion which can separate all sentient beings, even all creatures, without any discriminations. And this is the real compassion we are talking about. You got it? Hello?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I understand. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
A Lourdes que dizia que não falava bem inglês, afinal foi a primeira a chegar-se à frente, já viu? Força, Giancarlo, claro.
Speaking of compassion, did you find that sometimes in order to be compassionate, you have to be tough, you have to do something unpleasant because compassion requires so? For instance, a kid wants a toy, he screams, I want a toy, I want a toy. No, you have to be tough. Does it happen in your life as a Buddhist to have to be tough, to have to be strong and to do something unpleasant, to do a geyser in order to be really compassionate?
Yeah, and let me tell you, when you say something compassion, you know, this is actually a very good question. You know, in Sanskrit, the compassion, it means karuna. Karuna, Sanskrit word, karuna. And Tibetan, it translates as nyingjes, compassions. But according to the Sanskrit, you know, sometimes, you know, if we do something compassion to for the other peoples, right? You know, something we need to stop, you know, like you know, for the sake of other peoples, you know, for oneself, little bit it's mentioned like quite suffer to give happiness to other peoples. This is exact meaning in the karuna, the Sanskrit. And you know, that doesn't mean, you know, to you know, suffer oneself always. And also, and we should also stop this to harming other people's, instead of harming, giving love, and oneself a little bit sufferings. This is also one you know, but compassion, this one part of meanings. And the actual meaning, as I mentioned, you know, the compassion, or you know, the whatever we need to give others, you know, that should be give without any discriminations, these kind of things, you know. But you know, some people we are give compassion, some other ones relative, someone's friend, you know, and this we say is a kind of attachment, you know, because you're not genuinely, you know, in the you have, you know. And real compassion should give to all without any discriminations. I mean, like that. Yes.
May I? So sometimes in order to give to all, you have to say no to somebody, okay? And this is difficult. Now, your life as a Buddhist, you want to give, you want to be generous, you want to be good, but sometimes you have to say, no, this I won't give it to you because it's not right. Does it? Well, okay. Thank you. So the point is sometimes to be bad in order to be good, no? Does it happen? Do you agree that it's necessary sometimes?
Hello?
Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yes, yes. You heard Giancarlo's question?
Yeah. Can you translate? You know, I don't understand exactly.
If it's in order to be good, sometimes you have to be bad. If you agree with this.
in order to be good, sometimes we have to be bad.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm not saying, you know, completely yes, you know, but, you know, when in the Buddhist text, you know, if some people, you know, to transform in the good way, so we try to bring them as a very good results, you know. If there's not listening or something, you know, so we need to use something in the forceful actions, forceful, not so bad, forceful, you know, without harming, you know, for the good results. Sometimes this happen, but you know, but in the text, you know, because last time for me, when I do a research work for the UNICEF project work, my task is to do a Buddhist concept, to find the Buddhist, my job is to write the viewpoints based upon the Buddhist perspective, particularly on child protection and care. And I search a lot in the research work, and I never found. But in the Tantra level, you know, in the Tantra level, in when we study in the Buddhist text, in the Tantra level, some of my friends, they said they may have used, there's a forceful deity or something, you know, but in the Buddhist text, sometimes, you know, if it's kind of logic, you know, we use the logic, you know. For example, a person is very, very severely suffering, you know, and he could not die. He have a loss of suffering. On this condition, sometimes we can kill the peoples by can we kill in the motivation of not letting him suffering more. This kind of using the logic, you know. If there's no cure, for example, if there's no cure, no way to recover on that condition, and they said, you know, means to kill this animal by means of compassion. That is one is mentioned in the text. But I don't remember the particular text. This happening, and even in when I would do research work, and I never found particularly text, you know. Even, you know, in the Buddha said Buddha never what we call, you know, even, you know, when we show angry, you know, to hit our, you know, thumbs on the table when angry, you know, this couldn't be shown in the text, you know, which is mentioned in the text, A Guide to the Buddhist Way of Life. So this, you know, we use our logic to use our self logics that's mentioned. You know, we can't to put forth everything on the Buddha, you know. This is something we need to use the logic.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if someone else has any question, but how about Tanzing?
Yes, I have one question.
Força, Felipe. Força, claro.
Hello, Tanzing.
Yes.
I would like to know from a Buddhist perspective if the personal ego is something that we should cultivate. Is it a good thing or useful thing, or should it be completely eliminated and it is not something that is
ego, you know, ego is completely, you need to ignore ego, you know. Ego is the enemy. Ego, hatred, you know, and you know, there's no enemy at all. Actually, there's no enemy at all. Enemy, you know, which is created by our own self, you know. If you tame your mind, there's no enemy, you know. That's why may all sentient beings happy, may all sentient beings gain peace and harmony, you know. If there's all peoples, you know, in the world, all people very calm, there's no way to war, you know, because, you know, that's why, you know, because the main problem in the world, you know, one is we need to know That's why, sometimes, like a person who have very, that's the reason, that's the beyond religion. Beyond religion is the, let me tell you very good. Now there are so many people in the world, very, very good educated, very good educated, but there's something lack. What is lack? Because they don't have inner values. Inner value is the main important, they don't, they have, for example, there's some people, they say, or psychologists, philosopher, whatever, the mathematics, engineer, and so many the special field, where expertise happen, right? But if they have if they don't know the real inner value, so many bad things happen. For example, the Nobel Prize. Nobel, he created the bomb, atom bomb, and that atom bomb used in the wrong way. And after that, he regret and give the prize to the Nobel Peace Prize. These things happens, because we human being, that's why we human being, the knowledge, if you use the knowledge in that wrong way, that is it makes problem to the peoples, right? Now, instead of using in the wrong way, we should learn to use in the better way. That's the reasons. That's the reason beyond religion, now, so many university, like in Delhi University in India, and ANU University, Australian National University, and Emory University in America, some of the universities, they already started to give the beyond religion as a text, because beyond religion, so many students, they are changing. Now they understand the inner values, they understand the personal integrities. They are showing respect to other peoples, This is the main things. And last year, C learning programs, C learning programs, C means social, emotional, ethical learning programs that held in India. C learning, social, emotional, ethical learnings. Now, young students, particularly young students, they need to know to respect other traditions. They need to know to respect other peoples, and they need to know others' conditions. Not only for modern education. Modern education is okay, but main thing is to know the knowledge inside knowledge. This is really important.
Noémia, acho que queria fazer uma pergunta, não era?
Sim.
Força, Noémia.
Boa tarde. Desculpa. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I would like to ask about the time, how you understand time. Is it merely transient, or do you have a notion of eternal time? As in Christianity, we say that God was in the beginning, is, and he shall be. But I think that in Buddhists, the predominant notion of time, of things, is that they are transient. Is there do you have this notion of eternity also? Do you understand?
No, I don't understand.
Time that is infinite, that corresponds to infinity, to
infinities.
Yes. Do you have this notion of time as time after time as an eternal, that something that has always been there and shall be the same? In Christianity we have this feeling, but in Buddhism, I think that the predominant way of understanding is that things are transient.
Yeah, I understand your point.
Do you understand what I mean?
I got it.
Yes.
Now, let me tell you, time, it's in the Buddhism, now this time, the Buddha Shakyamuni times, and even we Buddha said the future Buddha, Maitreya Buddhas. We already said in future Buddha, Maitreya is future Buddhas, and maybe, you know, it's mentioned in the scripture. I heard through the great scholar. I'm not the philosopher. I'm still learning, you know. And I heard many spiritual masters, they said this, and time changing.
Yes.
But it's lots of time, 3,000 years, 4,000 years, 5,000 years. Then after that, you know, the Buddha also come. Another, you know, this also comes. We don't know, we never know what will happen, you know. But when we exist, you know, we do our best. This is we're doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Got it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and you know, and also, you know, even in the beyond religion, it also said, you know, His Holiness, very good example, you know. There, for example, in one family, like 5 people, they all are not same. They have a different opinion, different point, different thought, right? Like this world, different people. Some people, you know, they believe in God, you know. They said, oh, they said everything's created by God. They accept, they feel more happy with this condition. Some people, you know, they never accept any God system. They never accept any theories, you know. They said, you know, I never believe this kind of thing. I follow my own ways. They said, there's different people, right? Yes. Different people. Likewise, but His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, you know, they are independent, whatever they want. But His Holiness said, you know, sometimes it would be much better, particularly when sooner or later we all need to die, right? We all need to die, right? Particularly in this time of stage of die, it's very important to have one faith. For example, those who have a Christian faith, they trust with the Christian Jesus Christ, and they said, oh no, may the God brings you very good path, you know. They trust, and that brings, you know, that happens. And those persons who have the great trust in the, you know, Buddha or others, they have a different path in a different way. And these people, those who haven't any religion backgrounds, they have very problems, you know. They don't know where to go. That's the problem. They happen. So they will face a problem. That's why on that condition, sometimes it's very important to have the faith in whatever you like. That's why, yeah, Buddha also said, you know, you follow whatever you like. Buddha never said you don't need to follow other tradition. You follow me. Buddha never said. You follow whatever you like. Yeah, that's it. Buddha said. Yeah.
Do you think that Buddhism is close to systemic change, to change? Everything changes. Is it?
Yeah, Buddha said already change, time change. Yeah. Thank you.
Nademia. Tem alguma questão? Noémia. Noémia. Okay. Tanzing, there's an author, George Steiner, who said that our civilization, Western civilization, European civilization, is the daughter of 2 cities, Athens, because of philosophy, and Jerusalem, because of Christianity. So the culture we live here in Portugal at the moment is a descendant of these 2 cultures, philosophy and Christianity. And Christianity, we talked about philosophy a little bit, but Christianity, as Noémia said, is attached to the idea of eternity and of a self who lasts to eternity. If I behave good, I will go out of my body, I'll go to heaven, I will live forever. So the idea of ego is very close and very important in our, is central, not important, but central in our culture. And our culture gave us a lot of bad things, like you said, wars, atomic bombs, but also gave us good things, technology, vaccines, for example. So my question is, do you think that a Buddhist-centered tradition would give rise to a technology society, to a scientific society, as the Western society is? Or do you think it would lead to a different kind of society?
You know, this you will get this answer in the beyond religion. You know,
Okay.
you know, the beyond religion in the introduction, I think not introduction, some, you know, His Holiness already mentioned, you know, now some people, they may have thought like this, you know, in the ancient time, the people, they are focusing only for, you know, flying in the air, in the computer, and the medicals, you know, some this or, you know, and they said, and when they have all gathered, you know, now religions, we don't need anymore, you know, everything's we have, you know, if we get sick, we go hospital. If we want to go other place, we can take fly. If we want to send, you know, we can use computer. These things happens. Now the time change. Now when the people get the attention, the doubt, you know, these kind of cannot serve through the technical, you know, materialistic. That's why, you know, we human being paying mostly on the materialistic world, not paying attention on inner values. If we pay attention on the inner values, and no, such kind of problem, nothing happens, you know, because of paying attention on the materialist world, you know. Even, you know, Nalanda scholar, they already explained in the text, you know, in the text, you know, Nalanda scholar, you know, Western people, they thought, you know, the scientific Acharya Nagarjuna is very great talent, you know, great master. He know everything, scientific method. In the some text also mentioned Aryabhata. Let me tell you, Aryabhata, in the Nalanda scholar, he know also about the scientific, and he already mentioned in the existence of water in the moon in the scripture that we know. In the scientific now say, oh, we discovered the moon, water in the moon. They're spreading, but according to the Buddhists, it's not new. It's already exists. Nothing new.
How did he knew that there was water? How did he knew that was water in the moon? You know, how did he find that out?
They find, you know, now, you know, they wrote in the text. They sound even they wrote Aryabhata is one of the the scholar, or what the Nalanda scholar in the Nalanda University. In his writing, it's mentioned in his writing. I can, you know, there's a book, you know, I would suggest you, ancient Indian classical books. They have ancient Indian classical books, you know, classical books. This is the translation from the Tibetan into English language. Now they publish many different languages. I think when you read this book, and you will understand, you know, their source, you know, everything, the source of the books, everything is written, you know. Now this, you know, everything is mentioned, you know, and, you know, now His Holiness recently in the minor life meetings conference, you know, and some of the Western scholar or Western scientists, they mention, you know, this, and the Indian scholar, you know, they said, oh, this is not you know, they already mentioned in the scripture, you know, the great scholar, they mentioned according to the particular, you know, quantum physics. This is nothing new. It's already mentioned. This already exists in the ancient Indian time.
Tanzing, that's the particularity in philosophy, Western philosophy, is the attention to words and concepts. For example, if you say that someone 1,000 years ago knew that there was water on the moon because he wrote it in the scripture, but you ask him, yes, how do you know? He will not know how he knows. But if you ask a scientist, how do you know there is water in the moon? He said, because we send a space shuttle there with a robot, and we collected water, and we see water on the moon. So that's different kind of knowing. Yes. So if I ask, how do you know that 1,000 years ago there was water on the moon? He could have read it, but he could have read there was paint on the moon. It's the same. Yeah?
Let me tell you, this is also a very good question. You know, this is also a very good question. Yeah. Now, you know, they are, you know, they are referring the ancient text, right? Referring the ancient text, ancient text, I told you, mentioned, the Buddhism, this text in the written, this text, thousands of, translated in the thousands of years, right? Now they understand through the text. The text is there, written in the text. Text is proof showing in existent water. They referring the text. You said, if there's no any textbook, if there's no textbook, how can we know? We need some proof, right, to show ancient textbook of this textbook, Aryabhata's textbook, Aryabhata textbook, which is in the Kanjur or Tanjur section, Kanjur Tanjur. As I told you, Kanjur, 101 volumes, very thick books. Tanjur, the commentary which is written by the ancient Indian Nalanda scholar, they wrote commentary based on the Buddhist teaching. They have total volume as 202, total 303 volumes. And from this text, they know the existence of water in the moon. They are showing as a proof.
I think I believe you when you say that Buddhism has a lot to teach us about inner values and about the self. But when you talk about exterior world, I'm not going to believe in a text that was written 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago, because it doesn't have proofs for that. You can say anything in a text, and if you give it by tradition from generation to generation, it will last forever. But it doesn't mean that they knew there was water on the moon. It just wrote it. To know, you have to have proofs of it. So I don't know how that kind of Buddhist tradition will help us now in the West, because we are doing that. We are discovering water on the moon by ourselves. But maybe what you can teach us is that other
that's true.
that we were talking first, the dimension of the self, the dimension of the inner self, and the values, no?
I agree that it's quite difficult to. You need to. It's also you need to study. Lots of things. It's not. If I say, oh, this mention is that, this is also not enough. We need to study. We need to study thoroughly. So even that's why I said it's very important to know. To know, learn. And from learn, then you will find some conviction, and it's also in the moon. Some people they said in the moon, they take water, they make video or something. Now people are more critical. It is not easy to hard the belief. People are more critical. People are analyzing, checking, these things happens, and you need to study, you need to read, you need to learn, and other that you will understand. I'm not arguing, oh, this is mentioned and this is true, it's okay. Also, your research work.
Tanzing, do you think we are prepared in the West? Our minds are prepared to receive Buddhism and Buddhism teaching? Or our Western minds are more difficult to understand Buddhism? What do you think?
Can you repeat that question again?
If you think that our minds in the West, the way we think in the West, is it compatible to Buddhism teachings? If a Western person can understand Buddhism as an Eastern person?
Western people, I find, Western people, even, some Western people, more analytical. I feel that, this is very good. We, in now, people learning a lot, even Buddha also said, like analysis, this is also, it's okay. You need to analysis, it's more value, it's more better to learn, and it's more quicker to learn, because that if we don't analyze, it's like, you know, it's like faith grounded with faith grounded like ignorance. You know, we need faith grounded with reasons. With reasons, you know, that's we need to you learn. That's why, you know, even in the Buddha's own text, there are so many commentaries. There are so many contradictions. When you study about, you know, Madhyamikas, you know, in the Madhyamika, Buddha said these things, and another, you know, Indian Nalendra scholar like Acharya Nag Arjun, they also wrote commentaries. And other side, you know, Acharya Chandrakirti and other Asanga, they also object, they also disagree these commitments. You know, they said, you said this and these things is not exactly mentioned. And they also need to clarify. This is also we need. And on that basis, you know, I'm not saying, you know, you need to study Buddhism, and you need to do a Buddhist, you know, but you can study a Buddhism, you know, Buddhism. From the Buddhism, you can learn a lot. Your thought, you know, will be more expandable. You know, there's more logical ways. You know, there's no, you know, it's not like Orthodox style. You need to follow these kind of things. You need to follow, and if you do this, these things happen. If you do these things happens, and other that you will happen. You know, it's not like that. You will analysis, and once you analysis, once you learn, you feel something conviction. That conviction makes you happy. That conviction makes you tranquil. You are using your brain. This thing happen.
Tanzing, thank you very much. We are using our brain for quite a while now, for almost 2 hours.
That's very good, you know.
You're a very nice, very, very nice human being. I hope when you come to Portugal, we can meet.
Yeah, sure. We will meet. We will definitely meet.
If no one else has any question, we can say goodbye to Tanzing.
Yeah.
Thomas, Tanzing can explain a little how to use emotions to get out the suffering. We can use the emotions and recognize emotions for go out to the suffering. Who can use this?
How to use emotions to get out of the suffering? Yes.
Accept emotions, because during the day you use more emotions than logical. No? You use a lot of emotion. You think sometimes you use logical, but you use emotions. How use these emotions for go out the suffering? Yeah, or accept these emotions and understand emotions for go out the suffering.
In emotion, you know, when we talk about emotion, there's different kind of emotions, you know.
Yeah.
Positive emotion, negative emotions, you know. Emotion.
Who use negative emotions? Who use negative emotions for go out?
We human beings, we are human beings, right?
Yeah.
Every day, you know, every second, emotion can change. Sometimes, you know, sometimes positive emotion comes. When we get positive emotion, we hug or we do all, you know, after sometimes bad things, we change. This is the emotion that happens. But the main things that we need to know, you know, the causes of emotions, you know, if something bad things happen in one life, you know, you need to analysis why these things happen. First, you know, many people, you know, we never point out, you know, the guilty, whatever, you know, we always point other people's, never point ourselves, you know. We need to ask the question ourselves, you know, what I did something wrong, why I'm angry all the time, for what reason I'm angry, what happened, and why these things happen, you know. And you need to ask by yourself, you know. And for that, sometimes, you know, you can change the switch, you can switch the change, you know. For example, like nice people, you know, I don't know the nice people, very good people, you know, and they are also, you know, these things like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Eu saio de manhã. Mas se calhar eu vou pôr um pouquinho mais para trás. Não vou...
Tanzing, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
I hope to see you again.
Mas eu não vou aparecer
Ok.
E obrigado a todos por terem participado.
à madrugada. E depois está lá o carro em frente à porta dele.
Um abraço.
Tchau.
Um abraço a todos.
Obrigada.
Tchau, Tanzing.
Thank you, thank you, thank
Bye.
you.
See you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, bye.
Tchau, Tanzing. Tchau. Tchau, Márcia.
Tchau. Obrigada.